Good morning, Andrews Elementary, and happy Thursday. Today is your last ELA day, so make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you get into those books, do that work, get in with the Google Hangouts, and talk to your teachers. It's exciting, but remember, just because it's the end of the ELA days, you should be reading every single day. That's what's going to keep you sharp and ready for next school year. So, we're going to continue reading our James and the Giant Peach. We're on chapter 19 today. If you remember at the end of last chapter, they were really afraid that they were going to starve out on the ocean. And then James reminded them that they're floating on a huge peach that they can eat, so they have plenty of food. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Actually, before I do that, a quick reminder, June 1st is when you and your families will come through the parking lot and pick up your materials for grab and go. Okay, there's information posted on the district Facebook page. There's information posted on the Andrews page if you go to the website, and then I'll be sending out some more information with clear details, but we're going to use actually the parking lot on the side of the garage, or the side of the school, not the bus loop. Okay, so there'll be a map. Remember, that'll be the time that you turn in your Chromebooks, any library books that you have, and you'll get your materials. It'll be bagged up, ready to go. All right, so if you have any questions, you can email me, bmcintyre@trschools.org, and I'll make sure to get back to you if you have any questions. All right, chapter 19. "Look," cried the centipede just as they were finishing their meal. "Look at that funny thin black thing gliding through the water over there." They all swung around to look. There were two of them, and Miss Spider. "There are lots of them," said the ladybird. "What are they?" asked the earthworm, getting worried. "They must be some kind of fish," said the old green grasshopper. "Perhaps they've come along to say hello." "They are sharks," cried the earthworm. "I bet you anything that they are sharks, and they've come to eat us up." "What absolute rot," the centipede said, but his voice seemed suddenly to have become a little shaky, and he wasn't laughing. "I am positive they are sharks," said the earthworm. "I know they are sharks." And so, in actual fact, did everybody else, but they were too frightened to admit it. There was a short silence. They all peered down anxiously at the sharks, who were cruising slowly round and round the peach. "Just assuming that they are sharks," the centipede said, "there still can't possibly be any danger if we stay up here." But even as he spoke, one of those thin black fins suddenly changed direction and came cutting swiftly through the water right up the side of the peach itself. The shark paused and stared up at the company with small, evil eyes. "Go away," they shouted. "Go away, you filthy beasts." Check out this illustration. Here's the big peach, them floating on top. Down there, all the sharks. Slowly, almost lazily, the shark opened his mouth, which was big enough to have swallowed a lot, and made a lunge at the peach. They all watched, aghast. And now, as though at a signal from a leader, all the sharks came swimming in towards the peach, and they clustered around it and began to attack it furiously. There must have been 20 or 30 of them at least, all pushing and fighting and lashing their tails and turning the water into a froth. Panic and pandemonium broke out immediately on top of the peach. "Oh, we're finished now," cried Miss Spider, wringing her feet. "They'll eat up the whole peach, and then there'll be nothing left for us to stand on, and they'll start on us." "She's right," shouted the ladybird. "We're lost forever." "Oh, I don't want to be eaten," wailed the earthworm. "But they'll take me first, because I am so fat and juicy and I have no bones." "Is there nothing we can do?" asked the ladybird, appealing to James. "Surely you can think of a way out of this." Suddenly, they were all looking at James. "Think," begged Miss Spider. "Think, James, think." "Come on," said the centipede. "Come on, James. There must be something we could do." Their eyes waited upon him, tense, anxious, pathetically hopeful. Chapter 20. "There is something that I believe we might try," James Henry Trotter said slowly. "I'm not saying it'll work." "Tell us," cried the earthworm. "Tell us quick." "We'll try anything you say," said the centipede, "but hurry, hurry, hurry." "Be quiet and let the boy speak," said the ladybird. "Go on, James." They all moved a little closer to him. There was the longest pause. "Go on," they cried frantically. "Go on." And all the time, while they were waiting, they could hear the sharks threshing around in the water below them. It was enough to make anyone frantic. "Come on, James," the ladybird said, coaxing him. I'm afraid it's no good after all, James murmured, shaking his head. I'm terribly sorry, I forgot. We don't have any string. We'd need hundreds of yards of string to make this work. Well, what sort of string? Asked the old green grasshopper sharply. Any sort, just so long as it's strong. But my dear boy, that's exactly what we do have. We've got all you want. How? Where? The silkworm, cried the old green grasshopper. Didn't you ever notice the silkworm? She's still downstairs. She never moves. She just lies there sleeping all day long. But we can easily wake her up and make her spin. And what about me, may I ask? Said Miss Spider. I can spin just as well as any silkworm. What's more, I can spin patterns. Can you make enough between you? Asked James. As much as you want. And quickly, of course, of course. And would it be strong? The strongest there is. It's as thick as your finger, but why? What are you going to do? I'm going to lift this peach clear out of the water, James announced firmly. You're mad, cried the earthworm. It's our only chance. The boy's crazy. He's joking. Go on, James, the ladybird said gently. How are you going to do it? Skyhooks, I suppose, jeered the centipede. Seagulls, James answered calmly. The place is full of them. Look up there. They all looked up and saw a great mass of seagulls wheeling round and round in the sky. I'm going to take a long silk string, James went on, and I'm going to loop one end of it around a seagull's neck. And then I'm going to tie it to the other end of the stem of the peach. He pointed to the peach stem, which was standing up, like a short, thick mast in the middle of the deck. Then I'm going to get another seagull and do the same thing again, then another, and then another. Ridiculous, they shouted. Absurd, poppycock, balderdash, madness. And the old green grasshopper said, how can a few seagulls lift an enormous thing like this up in the air? And all of us as well. It would take hundreds, thousands. Well, there's no shortage of seagulls, James answered. Look for yourself. We'll probably need 400, 500, 600, maybe even 1,000. I don't know. I shall simply go on hooking them on the stem until we have enough to lift us. They'll be bound to lift us in the end. It's like balloons. You give someone enough balloons to hold, I mean really enough, then he goes up. And a seagull has far more lifting power than a balloon. If only we have time to do it. If only we are not sunk first by those awful sharks. You're absolutely off your head, said the earthworm. Well, how on earth do you propose we get a loop string round a seagull's neck? I suppose you're going to fly up there and catch it yourself. The boy's dotty, said the centipede. Let him finish, said the ladybird. Go on, James. How would you do it? With bait. Bait? What sort of bait? Oh, with a worm, of course. Seagulls love worms. Didn't you know that? And luckily for us, we have the biggest, fattest, pinkest, juiciest earthworm in the world. You can stop right there, the earthworm said sharply. That's quite enough. Well, go on, the other said, beginning to grow interested. Go on. The seagulls have already spotted him, James continued. That's why there's so many of them circling around. But they daren't come down to get him while all the rest of us are standing here. So this is what? Stop, cried the earthworm. Stop, stop, stop. I won't have it. I refuse. I. Be quiet, said the centipede. Mind your own business. I like that. My dear earthworm, you're going to be eaten anyways. So what difference does it make whether it's sharks or seagulls? I won't do it. Oh, why don't we hear what the plan is first, said the old green grasshopper. I don't give a hoot what the plan is, cried the earthworm. I'm not going to be pecked to death by a bunch of seagulls. You'll be a martyr, said the centipede. I shall respect you for the rest of my life. So will I, said Miss Spider. And your name will be on the newspapers. Earthworm gives us his life to save friends. But he won't have to give his life, James told them. Now listen to me. This is what we'll do. All right, that's the end of chapter 20. So, I wonder what his plan is and how the earthworm is going to save them. I want you to think about that. Tomorrow, when I read the next chapter, we'll have an answer for you. All right, friends, let's have a great Thursday. Remember, if nobody told you they love you today, I love you very much. I look forward to seeing you in your Google Hangouts.